समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Politically, this is going to be the year of Bihar. And not only because that's the next major state that will see an election, it's also because it will be a test of many things. It will be a test of the BJP, its sway in the Hindi heartland. They did not do so well in Uttar Pradesh the last time. In Bihar, however, their alliance with JDU worked out all right, even in the last Lok Sabha elections. If that alliance had not worked out, BJP would have fallen much short of even the number that it got ultimately, which was 240. Second, it is very significant for the BJP's alliance partner, that is JDU. JDU has fewer seats in the state assembly than the BJP, but JDU provides a leader. So if you see any political combination in Bihar, whether it's NDA or it is Congress party or India Alliance, you can call it Congress plus RJD, etc. You can see either of them like a railway train, but either of them has been for 20 years now like a railway train without an engine. They need an engine, and that engine becomes Nitish Kumar. So whoever wins the numbers in Bihar, and this has now gone on for 20 years, whoever wins the numbers, Nitish becomes the chief minister. There was a tiny interregnum when he put Jitan Ram Manjhi there as chief minister, like a placeholder for just a very short while, which also effectively was his own chief ministership. Otherwise, he's been chief minister on both sides. So for him also, it might be his final election, although in politics you can never say those things, but looks like it will be his final battle, his last battle. And on him, the BJP will be depending for their success, for their repeat success in the state. However, if the BJP has a setback, it will give the opposition tailwinds. Opposition again in the Hindi heartland. That's why it's going to be a politics defining election. Politics, as we know, is our staple. That's the reason we say, because politics matters. And you will see a lot of coverage of Bihar politics going ahead. Bihar is also a state which I have been traveling through during election campaigns for almost 25 years now. In fact, for more than 25 years, it was about 20 years back that I wrote my first writings on the wall from Bihar. In fact, while I might have written a couple more earlier from other states, writings on the wall as a concept grew and evolved truly in Bihar. And in Bihar, it began with the first episode or the first installment of this when there were hardly any walls in Bihar. And that's the metaphor we had picked up. So what am I going to do now? There are 7 writings on the wall written from Bihar in the run-up of elections. There were 2 in 2005 because 2005, the first election in early 2005 was inconclusive. It led to president's rule. The second election the same year was conclusive and Nitish Kumar won a big majority. Then 2010, Nitish Kumar went for his re-election, and then 2015 and onwards. Beginning with those 2 elections in 2005, I have written seven installments of writings on the wall at various points of time at 5-year intervals. And if you follow these, whether in text, I'm sharing the text links also with you, or in the podcast version here, you will see a fascinating story of change. And where will you read it ultimately? Irrespective of whether you are reading it on my text stories, or in the podcast version, or just listening it on audio, these will be read in the writings on the walls. So you can see what Bihar was like in the first election of 2005 when people wanted change but were not yet fully able to make up their minds. What was the aspiration? What were the stirrings in that hopeless land? In fact, in the print version, our original headline was Stirrings in a Hopeless Land. And remember, this was very early 2005, 20 years ago. So take your minds back to Bihar 20 years ago. At least that's what I'm trying to do. I started that first 2005 writings on the wall from Bihar by saying nobody goes to Bihar too often. Actually, nobody goes there unless he or she has to. No surprise then that for all but one member of our group of limousine liberals, an assortment of journalists, TV anchors, pollsters and investment bankers, it was their first look at Bihar. The exception, journalist turned anchor, turned politician, turned cricket diplomat. Guess who? One you saw in July with King Charles. He was the one person whose sasural happens to be in Patna. So he was the one who had travelled in Bihar most often, namely Rajiv Shukla. A tradition with the group is that on the last meal of every election, there is a poll on who will get how many seats and a tiny wager. This time, there was an added question on who thought Bihar had turned out to be better than they had imagined, or in my language, less worse than they had imagined. Most of the hands went up because people had imagined much worse. Then a follow-up question, obviously in deference to the presence of so many investment bankers in the group. Would you buy Bihar today if it was a bond or a share? Once again, a surprisingly large number of hands went up. This was, remember, January 2005. Now, that's a surprise, right? For January 2005, isn't it? Bihar, the basket case where nothing works, where the only growing business is kidnapping. Unfortunately, it looks like it still is, or at least it has come back. Where roads exist on paper and potholes in reality. Where industry is mere brick kilns, int ka bhatta, as we say in Hindi, where the per capita income is a fourth of the national average, 2005. It hasn't got so much better even now. And to which all that is lousy or rotting anywhere in the country is benchmarked. UP's roads are getting as bad as Bihar's. Haryana's political gundaism is reaching Bihar's levels. Eastern Madhya Pradesh looks like a mini Bihar. So on and so forth. So what is it that still works in Bihar? In 2005, early 2005, we noted there isn't much actually. It is just that Bihar has got such bad press and for so long that you expect to be kidnapped within hours of landing here. And when that doesn't happen, you begin to feel smug. Yes, Bihar sucks, but so do most of our cities. Open drains, look at Gurugram, open drains, garbage heaps, pigs, dogs, three-wheelers assaulting your lungs with kerosene fumes from their reconditioned diesel engines, backlit plastic signboards that are the scourge of gentrifying India, all are there in Bihar, all were there in Bihar in early 2005, Jan 2005. But if you can see these in any other city, even much richer cities, I can take you to parts of Ahmedabad, one of our most prosperous cities that can beat Patna anytime, particularly if you were to devise an index of urban rottenness based on the stink of human excreta. This is January 2005. Remember, Ahmedabad has changed a great deal since then. Also, on reputation alone, you do not expect to see any roads at all in Bihar. But as you step out of the airport, the look feel is that of any other cantonment town. That's Patna. What a sizable zoo is doing cheek by jowl with the airport, however, is difficult to understand. You wonder if any animals still live there. Patna Zoo, January 2005. And if they do, they must need therapy. Given the aircraft noise they have to endure, can you imagine having an airport right next to you if you're an animal living in a zoo? For the capital of India's most backward state, Patna's is a very busy airport, made busier by politicians who arrive by small charters and then fly around the state in helicopters to avoid the potholes more than kidnappers, I suspect. Surely, you can also find cleaner, swankier streets in other cities, particularly Ahmedabad. But where else can you have a string of Muharram processions with the devout cutting and slashing themselves, assaulting each other with hockey sticks, chains and hooks in mourning for Hussain, splashing blood all over the chock-a-block street that they share with Hindu wedding processions in perfect peace and harmony. A big wedding Muhurat has coincided with Muharram this year, 2005, and the two sides hug different flanks of the same street. Their respective bands sometimes play the same numbers. I picked up some ETC Punjabi channel favorites, but the crowds never mix. or mess with each other. They treat each other with respect, even though one set dances in celebration and the other flails, flagellates, and beats their chests in lament and mourning. That's a unique feature of Bihar. Traffic is almost at a standstill, but there is no frustrated honking, no curses, no road rage, because nobody is in a rush. Nobody has anything to do, you might say. But the fact is, there is a certain decency, patience, culturedness, if I might call it that, a tolerance of the other in Bihar that you won't see almost anywhere, even less in the north. Women feel quite safe. Pleasant surprise. Women feel quite safe. They don't get pinched, pushed, or pawed in crowded election meetings. And one of our women staffers who had just returned from reporting assignments in Bihar proudly acknowledged the total absence of what she describes as the male gaze, that you don't find this in Bihar. Patna or Bihar's other cities have none of the other symbols of modern growth: hotels, restaurants, multiplexes. But there are consumer goods, and half the hoardings belong to cell phone companies, the other half to soft drinks. This is, remember, once again, I keep reminding you, January 2005. The arrival of the equity cult is underlined by a banner on a Bank of India branch offering easy loans for the Jet Airways IPO. That itself tells you we are taking you back 20 years. It is a different matter, though, that Jet Airways only recently started flights to Patna, after it was arm twisted by Praful Patel to do so. Patna is also one of the very few jet airline centers where check-in is not computerized and its staffer write your boarding cards with felt pens. Overlooking Gandhi Maidan, where Vajpayee and Sonia address rallies on successive evenings, is a commercial tower of sorts with a glazed open skies lift. Across the flyover cum bridge that straddles the Ganga and its floodplains is the district of Hajipur, Ramvilas Paswan's pocket borough, from which he routinely hits the Guinness Book of Records for his humongous victory margins. And you can see why. The roads are as good as in any other states, or at least in most states. Certainly better than in most of Uttar Pradesh. This is Hajipur 2005. Houses are pakka. There are schools, colleges, some small factories. You see the odd tractor, lush fields of wheat, vegetables, ripening mustard, and blooming lentil. Farmers are busy and so are their families. Then, as you drive into the district of Vaishali, dotted with Buddhist and other Gupta Mauryan sites, you wonder for a while if you are in Green Revolution territory. Those most telling indicators of farming progress, advertisements of fertilizers, tractors, cement, and pesticides on the village walls appear every now and then. My favorite is the one for the Lafarge Concreto on a wall 10 kilometers from Vaishali. Imagine the French multinational selling cement to the poorest of the poor in revolutionary badlands where Maoist gangs strike at will. These are areas still within 150 kilometers from Patna. So please do not get misled if you are told. Go further north and the landscape becomes real nightmare of Bihar. We don't go too far, but just a little bit, to the buzzing little town of Saraya, another 35 kilometers from Vaishali, where things do not look so much worse. There are hundreds of bicycles, a large BSNL office, and full signal in your BSNL mobile, tractor workshops, even a polyclinic of sorts which boasts a cosmetic dentist promising you film star smiles. But even in this relatively better off region, one thing that is non-existent is the state, Sarkar. No state transport buses, one spotted in 2 days on the road. In 2 days, just one state transport bus. No primary health centers, no agricultural extension offices, veterinary centers, block development offices, things that you would expect to see in typical Indian countryside. No family planning slogans, no wonder Bihar has such a high birth rate, it still does. No pulse polio messages. The scene isn't that different as you travel in another direction, towards another ancient Buddhist landmark, Nalanda. This is Nitish Kumar's Kurmi heartland, and it shows in his rally in the town of Hilsa. No relation to the fish, that is the favorite of all Bengalis. Nitish is no Lalu. But what he lacks in style and charm and oratory is made up for by the enthusiasm of his crowds. He brings a message you wouldn't normally expect to hear in Bihar. Your boys, आपके लड़के, unfortunately boys, not boys and girls, your boys do not need more slogans. आपको नारे नहीं चाहिए. They need knowledge and education. Then he mocks Lalu Yadav's favorite exhortation to his own followers to season their sticks with oil. अपनी लाठी को तेल पिलाओ, by telling his crowds that what Biharis need instead is ink in their pens, not oil seasoning their lathis or their sticks. Ink in their pens. Will such an appeal work? Frankly, I don't know. Nitish tells us in a conversation. He says after the Lok Sabha debacle, he would never make a claim because who knows what works in an election. Good point. But one change is evident. If there is one thing the Biharis yearn for, it is education. Wherever you go, the only industry that is mushrooming is private education. Private coaching centers merely complement government-run schools, which are the only ones authorized to hold annual exams. So you enroll in a government school where teachers never come, classes are never held, but go and study in a private school where often the same government teachers moonlight. You are there, you see these schools wherever you look, including in the outhouses of temples. Hans Gyan Niketan is one such. The temple premises are mostly used for coaching classes while it provides video satsangs, the temple congregations on Saturdays. In fact, you see so many young children in diverse school uniforms in Bihar that you wonder where those terrifying school absenteeism figures are coming from, because schools are filled with uniformed children. Or could it be that particular set of horror figures is misleading, that all these boys and girls are simply fleeing the non-functional government schools to study in coaching centers or private schools? So government schools are empty and you say there is so much absenteeism, but they are going to these private schools. The sad fact is, traveling in Bihar, as you look around for writings on the wall, searching for writings on the wall, a cruel reality hits you. And that cruel reality is that there are hardly any walls. Most of the countryside is made of kacha houses. Kacha houses, no walls. So where will you get writings on the wall? And yet you see stirrings of change. And where do you see that? You see writings on the wall on trees, on the odd electric pole. Although after 6:30 or so, when sun sets early in the east, almost the entire state is dark. The countryside, the rural Bihar is dark because there is so little electricity. But in daytime, when you can see even an electric pole somewhere on a tree, electric poles, what do you find? You find little boats selling something. What are they selling? They are all selling education. Come to my English medium school. Come to my private school. Come to my coaching center. I will teach you to crack JEE. Come to my coaching center. I will train you to crack this exam or no exam. So there are no walls, but there are writings on the wall. And these writings on the wall are found on trees and sometimes on electricity poles. They may or may not give electricity for more than 4 to 5 hours a day. On the outskirts of Hilsa, we stop at what is called as Sarvodaya School, run by Satyendra Narayan Singh, who left college at the age of 18 to set this up. He has a waiting list now. His school has a power generator, a hand pump, and classes are never disrupted. At just 65 rupees a month for a child, a fully functional school is a blockbuster product in rural Bihar. Forget minimum wages. At rupees 1,000 a month, 2005, at rupees 1,000 a month, he does not pay his teachers even what they would get if they enrolled in John Drese's new employment guarantee scheme, Narega. But they always come to work on time and work a long, honest day. Teachers in government schools, on the other hand, are paid upwards of rupees 10,000 per month, but they are rarely seen. Sinha is now planning to expand, open an English medium branch, which is much in demand now, he says. His students have already cracked the IIT, JEE and CAT and so on, and he is riding a reputation. All this when his competition is a state that does not exist. Bihar schools have vacancies for 40,000 primary teachers, 2005. 40,000 primary teachers and 15,000 at secondary level. And if you think money is a problem, Remember that last year of the rupees 780 crores allocated to Bihar under the Sab Shiksha Abhiyan, only 150 crores was utilized. 630 crores was returned. A little factoid I deliberately held back so far is the name of Ramvilas Paswan's candidate here. It's Ranjit Singh. You know him as Ranjit Dawn. Everybody knows him as Ranjit Dawn. Rings a bell? Yes, the man is in jail. He was in jail in 2005. The man is in jail for allegedly leaking CAT tests and giving fake medical degrees, apparently also to his driver and cook. He is now contesting from jail. His wife in full Sohagan livery campaigns from the Toyota Qualis, decked with posters of the Dawn in handcuffs and chains behind bars, flanked by portraits, among others, of Sonia, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi. His supporters chant, "Jail ka tala tootega, Ranjit bhaiya chhootega." How disgusting. How Bihar-like, you might say. Now pause and think again. What was Ranjit Dawn selling? He was selling an ambition, the only hope a young Bihari has today. Education, a degree that will get him out of Bihar to some place where jobs are. If you wanted to be facetious, you could see an echo of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's old promise of freedom if you gave him blood. Ranjit Dawn could then be saying, "तुम मुझे वोट दो, मैं तुम्हें डिग्री दूंगा." But seriously, even in its criminal manifestation, what the Dawn represents is the yearning of a new Bihar, where a good degree is synonymous with Azadi. Even in its deep hopelessness, what Biharis yearn for is education, education, education. 2005. So, to the old Bijli-sadak-pani metaphor, Bihar is adding one more, padhai. Could it be then that the investment banker who's willing to buy Bihar at today's rock bottom prices is not exactly out of his mind?